They didn't just forget this story, they erased it, burned it, buried it under textbooks that never wanted you to know the truth. Because if you knew that in the early 1900s, a thriving black town had oil wealth, its own banks, luxury cars, and millionaires, you might start to ask dangerous questions. Questions like, what happened to them? Why aren't we taught about it? This is the story of Black Wall Street and the massacre that tried to erase it. Greenwood, Tulsa, 1921. This was not a community struggling to survive. This was a community that was thriving. Doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs. A population of 10,000 black residents, with over 30 grocery stores, 21 churches, and 2 movie theaters, all black-owned. The district was so economically successful that Booker T. Washington himself called it a Negro Wall Street. And yet, this prosperity wasn't just exceptional, it was dangerous. In a nation where blackness was equated with inferiority, how could such power and wealth exist without provoking fear? What happens when black success becomes a threat to white supremacy? That answer came on the night of May 31st, 1921, when a false accusation lit the match and a white mob burned Greenwood to the ground. That's why you've never been taught about it. Why entire generations went through school without ever hearing the words Tulsa Massacre. According to a 2021 survey by the Education Trust, 77% of U.S. state history standards fail to mention the Tulsa Race Massacre at all. Even in Oklahoma, the very state where it occurred, the massacre wasn't required to be taught in schools till 2020. That's nearly a century of silence. Why? Because remembering would mean reckoning. It would mean confronting the myth that racial violence was only something that happened in the Deep South, in backwoods, not in prosperous cities. It would mean acknowledging that black success has been systemically punished, not just ignored. And Greenwood wasn't alone. Throughout the early 20th century, dozens of thriving black communities were targeted, terrorized, and erased. Rosewood, Florida, 1923, burned to the ground. Elaine, Arkansas, 1919, hundreds of black sharecroppers murdered. Wilmington, North Carolina, 1898, a successful multiracial government violently overthrown in a coup. Yes, a real coup by white supremacists. But you won't find these events in most school history books, because they contradict the narrative. The comfortable version of history says that racism was a Southern problem, that slavery ended, then came civil rights, and now America is better. But the truth is messier, it's darker, and it's deliberate. 2020, a mass grave was literally uncovered in Tulsa by archaeologists. Black victims buried by the state, their names and stories lost for decades. How many more are out there? Asterisk, and here's the chilling part. The Tulsa Massacre wasn't even called a massacre in official records for most of the 20th century. It was labeled a riot, which allowed insurance companies to deny claims, families to lose homes, and the city to absolve itself of blame. Language became a weapon. History became camouflaged. Asterisk in 2021, 107-year-old Viola Fletcher, one of the last living survivors of the massacre, testified before Congress. Asterisk, I still see black men being shot, black, bodies lying in the street. I still smell smoke and see fire. I hear the screams. Asterisk, she never received compensation. She never received justice. She lived through it and watched the world forget it. Asterisk, it's about the lie America tells itself that racial progress is linear, inevitable, and irreversible. But when stories like Greenwood are erased, that lie becomes easier to believe. And when people forget the past, it becomes easier to repeat it. Asterisk, but history remembers. The soil remembers. The descendants remember. And now so do you. The chapter was deleted, but not destroyed. And it's time we write it back in, louder than ever. Asterisk, they deleted the chapter. Because it challenged the myth of American progress. Because it made justice inconvenient. But silence doesn't erase truth, it delays it. Now, the forgotten are being remembered. The erased are being restored. And the story? The story is louder than the lie ever was.